It would make sense like that. And, at the juncture we sit in the cycle of the destruction of the planet that's about to unfold in terms of bolides coming in 2025, the electromagnetic anomaly occurring in October of 2024, the changeover in the rapid depletion of the ozone hole and widening there it'll eclipse the year 2000 ultimate low of the ozone whole size of, was it 30 something million square kilometers at that point. It'll go well above that. Like, we're kind of at the end. The natural cycles are going to blow through this civilization and unwind it anyway. So if you're talking about these same, elite families that have been around for 6,000 plus years, they would know the cycle. We're going to roll through it. So complete extraction of wealth and moving it to a safer part of the planet, letting society just fall and extract as much as you could out of it, because it would be completely dismantled anyway through natural forces.
Yeah, let's stay positive, man. Let's stay focused. And I'm going to go ahead and hit live right now. And I love the optimism in a world of chaos. Let's be some civilized order. Let's bring some opportunities. Let's bring some light. And I love what you just said, man. What you just said was so powerful, that we're going to make it through this because we're on the side of light. Talk about that. That's beautiful, man. It's great to see you. It's been way too long. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us live on the website. The videos are always free and uncensored live on the site. If you miss the live shows, you'll get access to the archives, over 4,500 videos in the archives, and that's less than $10 a month. And so today we have a lot to talk about, especially with many recent events. The water, the food seems to be under attack as a metaphor. It seems like the food, the water, anything pristine and clean, there's something going after it, whether it's a universal force, whether it's just cause and effect. Maybe there's other variables. I don't know. But David, you said one thing that is so important is we have to stay focused and be positive in this time, look towards the light, because many people are actually kind of giving up hope.
Yeah, so true. And I'm in no way, shape, form perfect myself. There's times where I just shake my head and go, oh, this can't be happening. But I'm really trying to focus on, I am the change of this period of time to try to move against this darkness, and we go back through antiquity, and we've done a couple talks on this too, where this force, whatever it might be, this duality of light and dark, it always has this battle, and it culminates at the end of a certain cycle, which I believe is a frequency cycle from the sun's output. And then, there's that rollover back again where predominantly one energy field, stays for several thousand years. And if it is 1,000 years of, peace and harmony in a golden age, well, that would just, follow that whatever it was, that vibratory pattern with the darkness couldn't hold, light overcame it. And that's a predominant field of light during that 1,000 years, where there's so many things to be hopeful for at the moment. And I'm with you on the mind experiment. So everything we talk about today is just hypothetical. It's just a what if exercise, if we could play some things out or maybe game some possibilities, because if you can put a method to the madness, I do believe that will give you a huge leg up to possibly shift to another location, shift to a different mind frame, and then reassess and then take the next step. Because even bug out bags and all that, that's just really to get you to the next safe area so you can sit there for a minute and then reassess and then make the next plan to the next step. It's not a permanent anything. And now a quick word from Patriot Gold Group. Have you kept up with the big headlines so far this year? Bank of America says that gold should be a mainstay investment for the next 3 years. Big banks and billionaires agree on two things. We're heading toward a recession and investors need to buy gold. The Patriot Gold Group is introducing the 2023 Recession Protection No Fee for Life IRA. Mention ADAPT 2030. You're going to get the best in-class service from Patriots protecting Patriots. Patriot Gold Group has the No Fee for Life IRA, where your 401k or IRA can be in physical gold or silver on qualifying rollovers. That's 888-546-7020 to reach out for your free investor guide today. Keep in mind, Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs top-rated IRA gold dealer 6 years in a row. That's 888-546-7020. And now on with the video.
Right. Be prepared, not scared. I guess we could call this, folks, we're going to call this a live action role play. Any similarities are pure coincidence. Let's stay on top of the technology. Let's use the technologies for our benefit and for the world's benefit. And let's be stewards of the planet, not destroyers and pillagers of the planet. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as we move forward, a lot of this is going to take us back to a more pioneering lifestyle where we are going to get back to more putting your own fingers and feet into the soil to produce a lot of things that we need. That we see these complex systems breaking down, and they're going to continue to break down. And that is definitely the trajectory. And if you think there's going to be a hard U-turn and everything's going to go back to the way it was in, say, 2017, when everything was on the fly and well-oiled and perfectly functioning, we're going to go through this phase of complete breakdown and then a reassemblance or a reemergence, and then we'll come back out on the other side with something different. But during that time, just if you already know that's a general trend, there's a few things that you're going to have to slot into the life there, and taking sovereignty over your food, where it comes from, what seeds you have, who you trade seeds with, how do you work in a community to grow your food, as well as your water, to try to procure some of your own water. Safe, clean drinking water is going to be a huge one, because even the contaminants in the environment, a lot of times you cannot filter those out. And then we're starting to look at these giant 55-gallon barrel systems of 55 gallons of charcoal, 55 gallons of sand, 55 gallon of rock, and running it through like that to try to get some of that out before you even put it into the filter. Because, you know, a lot of these things around our environments now seem to bond to carbon in the filters. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. So actually, I've heard of artificial intelligence being used to get rid of forever chemicals. So I think that's a positive. And I know that we had talked previously about artificial intelligence being used to do amazing things as well. So don't focus just on the negative. But, you know, a lot of our predictions, David, have actually come to fruition. A lot of our forecasts and ideas and the artificial intelligence, especially. How much were we talking last year about AI becoming sentient, about AI building relationships with people, about AI actually falling in love with people, and then things get weird. AI wars, AI battles, and it's just front page news now. It seems like, oh, it's the normal now. Yeah. We were talking about this heavily last year.
Yeah, as well as the entry into digital rationing cards and putting those digital rationing cards on the blockchain, which is in itself intertwined with AI. So it seems like everything is going that direction. And, you know, the nanotech that's emerging. One thing I've noticed from a couple of these toxicity spills and factory fires, et cetera, you know, the land where the smoke blows downwind, it contaminates the land. So that's just fact 101 of kindergarten learning. Big fires, smoke blows, smoke sinks, lands on the land. Okay. But the nanotech that I believe is going to be, you know, unveiled at this time is going to be to cleanse the earth. You know, it's gotten so bad that now we need to release nanotech bots to go down and cleanse the earth, but they'll only happen when people are starving and hungry. But again, you know, if they were trying to say that, well, we're going to release these nanobots by the hundreds of trillions over multiple states to try to clean the soil and remediate that water table, you would say no way. But as we look today, if people get hungrier and there's less availability of food, Southern Hemisphere is struggling, Ukraine's struggling, United States still struggling. And now it looks like there might be other difficulties in agriculture and water. But imagine that. It would be a perfect time and way for them to unveil this new like cleansing nanotech. And then we could use it around the entire planet. And I don't know, I see something going that direction to wind all those three things, the blockchain, the AI, and the nanotech in together as we speak in these next year or so, or two.
Yeah, exactly. Transcendence film came out in 2014. Johnny Depp becomes a part of the singularity. He turns into this AI system that is available via the cloud, via wirelessly. And if you watch the film, it goes from like, once he does that and he permeates everything around the world, it makes you think, oh no, this is scary. You know, artificial intelligence is taking over the world. And then something stops him from being able to permeate the world and just a small part of the world. but towards the end, it does a total mind twist on you. It makes you think at first to be scared of the AI, but then the AI was really going to save you, and it was going to save the environment and clean the environment. So it was a double play on the major head games, major psychological programming there. And AI could be used to assimilate the planet, and it could also be used to save the planet. It could be. So they're throwing out truths, but they're giving it in their own narrative. And I do also see the nanotech being used in foods as well, in agriculture. And that makes me, I've questioned why Uncle Bill this is just clearly speculation, live action role play here, like we said, but I've wondered why Uncle Bill is purchasing up so much farmland. Is he wanting to use certain nanotechnologies and incorporate that into an AI system that could be also digitized and put into this Internet of all things? Back in 2008, there was the Hewlett-Packard central nervous system of the earth that they wanted to track everything around the world in real time. And that technology got purchased by Shell. And I'm sure they're using the technologies to find deposits of oil and natural gas, et cetera, but it could also track everything and upload it onto the cloud. And it's basically trillions of sensors. So sensors combined with satellites and nanotechnologies and quantum computers and artificial intelligence and supercomputers could basically tag and target everything in the world in real time. That's probably their ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, and I'll answer the one thing for you. The water rights is more what Uncle Billy was against or trying to grab control of. Controlling the food is one thing, but the water rights of either river streams, wells, et cetera, that were on that purchased property, the water is going to be more important in the long run, selling the rights to it, because that's in perpetuity. So, that river is going to run for 100 years. And they're going to be selling acre-foot water out of that to farms downstream for years or for 100 years. So it's not about the initial purchase and the amount of food that can be grown on, say, 200,000 acres or a 2,000-acre farm. And you got to think, in reality, it's a fair, nice, shiny penny if you got 2,000 acres and you're running grain on it at all-time high grain prices. But the water that comes out of there eventually will eclipse the purchase price of your land, selling it continuously. And that was one of the main grabs, was that. And I'll tell you another thing Uncle Billy's involved in here, which I'd done videos many a year ago. Barcode for all, or like the bio barcodes is what they're called. What they were trying to do is encode 10 million DNA species of different plants, animals, insects, etc. And each one of those would have a barcode. Like a hickory tree would have its own barcode. A walnut tree would have a barcode associated with it. And then they were going to use LiDAR and then head over the forests and get a composition of each of those. And and again, you come down to the sensors, and I don't know how frequently this was going to occur, but the usage of you to cut a tree on your own land would then be offset, and you'd have to pay for that because the sensors would notice that you took down a tree off of your land. And there would be a usage fee, because once it's barcoded and patented, a hickory tree is no longer a wild hickory tree. It's the property of the Barcode for Life Project, who's identified it, mapped it out, and has now claimed it as theirs. And as such, you would have to pay a usage fee for every single thing in nature. And so far, their database, as far as I did, this is like about a year and a half ago, maybe even longer, was up to 10 million species already that have barcodes associated with their DNA and cell structure of different, like I say, trees, plants, animals.
So just another money control grab system that's digitized.
Yeah, you got it.
Control. Okay. Well, now what? Now they're going to say, we've got all the cards, and in order to play the game, you've got to do this one thing. And then they could come up with any scenario they want.
Keep in mind also, as everything's playing out as we see today, it's all playing out in one large stage show. And I don't know what we're seeing right now in terms of derailments and fires here and factory burn downs there. That's a distraction from something larger. Now, as I'm going to explain these two things, there's two massive events coming in the next 2 years. The first one should occur from August, September, October, November of this year, where if I have to step you back in time 1 year to the Hunga Tonga eruption in January of 2022, that eruption added 10% more water into our atmosphere in a single day. So, we had 100% of precipitable water, or water that's clouds and could turn into rain and evaporation, et cetera. We had 10%, we had 100% of that in the Hunga Tonga, and now we're plus 10%. So we're at 110%. Now, an enormous amount of that went up into the mesosphere, which is approximately 30 to 50 miles above our heads. Now, it's one of the driest regions in terms of an atmospheric band layer. The troposphere really wet. That's pretty much where all of our weather occurs anyway. And then we get into the stratosphere above the ozone layer and mixing with the ozone layer. But when you get much, much higher up, there's just not really water. It's a desert layer, if you will. The things that cause clouds that could lead to precipitation in the mesosphere: huge, large volcanic eruptions like VEI-8s, rockets that are transiting that layer going through when they're burning, the propulsion there will leave particulates will become water through that layer. And then also bolides and different kind of meteorites and things out, from space coming in that also transit that same layer. High heat burning off, they're going to create some chemical reaction in there, and then water droplets could form. So generally, there's really not much in the whole scheme of things, like really how many comets bolides and meteorites are coming through the atmosphere on a whole atmospheric band, around the entire planet. That's really minuscule. But this put a huge amount of water up into the mesosphere, and it's almost immeasurable how much water has been injected into this layer that is normally a desert. Ice crystal clouds. They have these flat surfaces that ozone breaks down on with chlorine and bromine. So the O3 molecule gets broken down, which is the ozone. It'll either be chlorine or bromine that breaks it down, and then you'll get gases that'll then, circulate back down through the lower bands of the atmosphere. The thing is, there's so much water vapor up there now that we're going to have a runaway ozone depletion event that is going to shock science. It's going to shock science. How quickly this thing will onset. And the UVB penetration to the ground level is going to reduce crops greatly. And the opportunity cycle report that I've been working on for January edition was the barley crop that's going to be 30% globally down anyway. And then when we add this in, there's going to be a difficulty finding barley, and it's going to get really expensive. So not financial advice, just, research in plant density and plant output based on UVB increases. Now, that in itself is going to be a scary thing, like a world ending. If you're going to do the whole 4 horsemen apocalypse thing, the noose is going to run with that event. It is going to be shocking. And how I know something else is inbound on top of that is Antarctica has the most ice and snow cover ever recorded for an increase this year. And again, Antarctica is really dry in so many sections. It's just an ice desert. Not a lot of water down there, but 10% extra moisture would explain why Antarctica has massive increases in snow and ice. On the inverse, the sea ice around there, catastrophic, dropping off a cliff. But there's a direct correlation of UVB increases in sea ice loss. So nature's giving us in front running about 8 months. Our instruments haven't seen it yet, but nature is absolutely telling us there's going to be some massive increase down there. The food crop losses were inbound anyway. The crop losses were inbound. That was the whole thing about these cycles that I follow. This grand solar minimum, the alignments of the gas giants in the outer quadrant of the solar system, and this magnetic anomaly, which we're going to pass through October 2024, which nobody really has an idea of what's going to happen with the magnetic field on the planet, but for sure the precipitation patterns and the atmospheric flows will be affected, along with the jet streams and cloud cells, further reducing crop production. So for me, I'm looking at it in a wider scope than just like, okay, a few factory fires here, a few derailments over there. I'm looking at that as a massive distraction away from the celestial events on natural cyclicity happening at the same time. And where it gets nefarious for me, Rex, is, the mother weffers and this whole crew of central banks and more monarchy families and moneyed families like the Sassoons, et cetera. Everybody knows the Rockefeller. Few people know the Sassoons and these sort of other families that are also well connected and wealthy from time immemorial. They're riding on top of a natural cycle. You got 2 things happening. The natural man-made destruction of the food supply, which we're seeing now, and it's going to keep amplifying and ramping up. But that's going to be riding on top of all these natural crop losses that were inbound anyway, that through the chapters of history, Reset civilization just on the natural. Reductions of crop losses because of, what I spoke about earlier. So now you're going to layer these on top. So the elite are riding on top of a natural cycle to maximize and amplify the outcome. Well, the outcome that they really need to push a huge amount of agendas forward is hunger. Once you understand that, then you can very much put yourself in a better position of understanding the chessboard. I'll leave it there.
So, I mean, what are things that you would do to offset this? Things you're currently doing, I should say. I mean, you went out a few years ago and you purchased a piece of land so that you could start growing your own food and being the change you want to see. And how far are you disconnected from the grocery stores and the utility companies now?
I wish I could say further off. We're at the last utility pole on the line out here. Behind here, there's like 4,000 acres behind our farm. And any direction you go, you get into the Cherokee National Forest on there, and then all the way on the huge amount of mountains going over to North Carolina. Like we're really the last of the last before it just turns into pure mountain and national forest, before you come pop out on the other side of North Carolina somewhere. The thing that set me into a kind of, I think I misprepared a little bit was thinking the same thing a lot of people in Ohio thought. They thought, man, we got it wired out here. We're super remote. We got clean water. We can grow our own food. We're around the Amish. We're in farming country. We know all the farmers. And we're just going to sit back and glide through and ride this out. Well, you saw what just happened, where your safe, most ultimate safe zone might be. You might actually need to move there, because I was guilty of saying the same thing. I'm not leaving. This is the bug out position. People are going to come out here because it's so far remote. I'm not leaving. I don't have to leave. I'm going to be so far. Now I'm starting to realize that I might need a Sprinter van or something, because with that, I don't have that. Because if we really need to bug out and get out of here, because of what happens if a nuke plant gets some problems with it and that drifts over. I mean, there are some points where you might have to leave, even though you think you may never, ever leave. And I'm starting to find my own faults in my own preparations out here. Yeah, we're building a barn. Yeah, we're going to grow huge amounts of vegetables along the fence line, multiple gardens, fruit orchard, all these kind of things. That's great. But then what? You're going to have to work with a community of people. And it seems like all these things happening right now, we might not be as prepared as we thought we might be, especially if you're going to have to leave. Because you think about those people in Ohio who had to leave everything. They'd maybe been prepping for 20 years, ready for this change. They had everything they need, all the water filters. They had their own animals. They were ready. They're pretty much like 90% self-sufficient, except for steel and, some things they might need to buy for motor repair parts. And then what? Now they have to leave it all and start from scratch and drive out in the middle of the night with a car packed full of their stuff and then start over. I don't know. Some things we're going to have to start thinking about a little bit differently with all these factory fires and things happening at the moment.
Do you think that it's going to cause a change in like legislation and security with?
I think the legislation change is already slated to get people off the land. Because,
Okay.
you and I, we had seen those maps and we, had talked with others, and you've had your own conversations. I've had my own with different people that we consider reliable sources about ideas on how they would remove people out of the farming country and get them back into cities. Because, in a logical sense, you would say no farmers are leaving. But then I look at Ohio and say, the farmers don't even want to plant their own fields due to their own concerns about the contamination on their own fields and tilling this upcoming planting season. The farmers do not want to even till their own fields. Understandable. But what are they going to do? Say that's a zero, that they're going to say, that's a stranded asset. The bank won't note anymore. You're going to have to vacate the land. The government will pay you a certain amount, probably below market value. And then you'll have to go get an 8 or 9% interest loan to try to buy some farmland back again somewhere else when it's like 20 times more expensive than you paid for it a few years ago. The whole thing about removing people off the countryside farmlands has been talked about, and everybody had the same idea. How are you going to get them out of there? Farmers are going to say no. They're self-sufficient anyway. These communities are super tightly bonded together. They're not leaving. until these type of accidents start happening en masse. And now you start to see they're going to start to leave. And then what? Again, we come back to the end. Then what? Yeah, you start taking all these people off the farms. The farms are vacant. Who's going to own the farms? The government will have them in some sort of, land bank for a while, but then who will take possession of that? BlackRock? Vanguard? It's not going to stay in a land bank owned by the government, controlled by the government for more than a couple of years before that gets auctioned off to somebody else, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like people with mortgages, they half the time don't even know where their mortgage got sold to. Somebody, they look into it and they're like, well, we sold it to this other company and then we sold it to this other company. So you basically think that a lot of this land that could be usurped up from the farmers will go into a hedge fund possibly?
Yeah, because you talked, I remember seeing one of your interviews a while back. This is many years ago, when you talked about the bundled mortgages during the financial crisis in 2008 and 9. I remember you did an episode on that, on how it was intertwined and interbundled. Nobody even knew. So when the bank came to claim and, repossess a house, they're like, well, show me the deed. And they couldn't because they didn't have it, because it was so many times unsold that they didn't know who they even held the deed for the property any longer, because all the investment instruments had been derivatized and then resold, rehypothecated 50 times from Sunday. And, one company might own 1/16 of your original deed as a derivative of something else. So then the lawsuits started flying, like, I want to see the deed to my property, and they didn't have it. So then people were like, well, we're not leaving. Sheriff said, I can't enforce this. You don't. And I remember you going in depth on one of those episodes quite a while back.
The world's a trip, man. I mean, all this stuff that we're seeing and going on right now, and twisted, dark ecstasy opportunities, like tons of nuclear experiments in the atmosphere, blowing up holes in the atmosphere, forever chemicals in the water. I mean, just there's a lot of different, like little tweaks. I don't know, man. You think that there's like energies out there that are feeding off of all this, or it's just a part of cause and effect?
Definitely feeding trough is open at the planet right now. And, that's interesting you said that, because it does seem like population control has been a tenet of rulers across the planet for the last 6,000 years. However they accomplish that. Today it's on the battlefield. Today it's in a cancer cluster zone. Today it's in a XYZ fill in the blank. Right. So you're getting mass, you could get 80,000 people per day, every single day, depending on how it went. But something is definitely feeding off of off of our energies. Some entity is feeding off of that. I absolutely believe it. Now, you might think that is just so woo-woo, but you have to think about how the world operates pretty much lockstep now. And whatever vibratory pattern that's put out, whether it's a fear base, most humans are going to respond and have the same output vibrationally. So if something were to feed on that and they knew how to push buttons to get humans to respond to that, then you could have a perpetual food source, provided that you're in an ethereal being state and you actually feed off of vibratory energies versus apples, oranges, beef and eggs and toast. We need sustenance too. We consume it in a heavier, denser form. But, throughout antiquity, how many different dimensions are mentioned in religious texts, prophecies, societies, legends, stories, lore, and just the general workings of the universe itself. So for me, it's a given. Just as, looking out at the heavens and me, gazing further into the mysteries of our universe, I mean, just the astounding, mind-boggling, numbing numbers of galaxies out there that is so, you can't even put it into, if it was pennies, it would stack up to like Jupiter and back of pennies of the amount of galaxies that are out there. But then you have to put that into perspective also of, like, there's 100 million stars in each galaxy. Now, life is a given that it exists outside this earth. That is a given, no questions at all, that it's there. The same thing with dimensionality. It exists without doubt. But now what can penetrate that veil and jump from that side into our own regional time, space, and feed off of that, and then, extricate itself back into its own dimensionality? It's almost like it pokes through, feeds, and then jumps back again. I don't think it can hold state in our dimensionality here, but it definitely pokes through for a minute or two and then does its thing. But again, Rex, you tell me better. You have more stories of like things that just stay on humans and, grab into their energy fields too indefinitely for longer periods of time. Maybe you could talk about that. But whatever has brought us to this point, it seems that everything leading up in civilization right now has brought us to this point to keep the human at a certain resonance level. So whatever does feed can jump on top and feed in perpetuity or forever.
Right. It's like a perpetual battery system, a perpetual gourmet buffet. And so if...
Yo, Caviar, what's up?
Yeah. Your name is Caviar. Bob Caviar. If we only see, 0.01% of the electromagnetic light spectrum, our brain filters out half of that. How much could be right in front of us, influencing us? And, look at us in general. When we go out to a restaurant, we go out to a nice restaurant and they bring us a delicious steak and, maybe king crab legs and, mashed potatoes and all these amazing things. Then you have dessert and you think about all of the different animals be a part of that meal, whether it was butter or cream or, or the steak or the cheese on the potatoes or the eggs or whatever. And then who's to say there's not something out there that looks at us like we would look at a steak? And that would make sense. It's just like a giant farm. And they think that they're superior to us because we don't see them and they've got better technologies. So we think we're better than a cow because we eat steak. I don't know, man. It's just things that are going through my head here in this live action role play.
It would make sense like that. And, at the juncture we sit in the cycle of the destruction of the planet that's about to unfold in terms of bolides coming in 2025, the electromagnetic anomaly occurring in October of 2024, the changeover in the rapid depletion of the ozone hole and widening there it'll eclipse the year 2000 ultimate low of the ozone hole size of, was it 30 something million square kilometers at that point. It'll go well above that. Like we're kind of at the end. The natural cycles are going to blow through this civilization and unwind it anyway. So if you're talking about these same, elite families that have been around for 6,000 plus years, they would know the cycle. We're going to roll through it. So complete extraction of wealth and moving it to a safer part of the planet, letting society just fall and extract as much as you could out of it, because it would be completely dismantled anyway through natural forces. So, then they give themselves the pat on the back, like, well, we're not doing anything bad. It was going to be like this anyway. So we're trying to save humanity. And this is their twisted logic. Instead of warning anybody to get out there and get ready for these changes, get communities organized to try to roll through these changes, with the best way we can. It's like no information forthcoming unless you do the research yourself, and the complete extraction and transfer of wealth and asset to safety zones. And they're just going to sit back in their armchairs, crack one open and watch this thing unfold through, I'm going to say late 2023 is when we're going to start to see it. And it is going to roll for about 3.5 years of just massive natural things that are orders of magnitude above what we can expect, like today in our visual, like we've seen like the movie 2012 with the super giant waves coming in and like land sinking and things cracking off and California slides into the ocean kind. We're going to see events not that large, but much larger than you've ever seen in your whole lifetime. And that is just going to be the norm. So, that earmarked 3.5 years from now as we pass through, especially the bolides in 2025. Like we're going to come through this magnetic anomaly in October of 2024. And as the planet swings around out in front of the sun, which would be our March, April, May, June, we're going to be the only thing in the entire solar system in front of the sun. The sun will be behind us. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune will be behind us. Mars will be off to the right and Venus to the left. And everything magnetically is going to get pulled directly into the solar system, but the Earth's the only thing in front. There will be no Jupiter to pull anything out of our way. So there are going to be massive bolides rolling through the atmosphere in 2025. Now, the good thing is, after we swing back through and we come back into sort of, August, September, getting in winter of Northern Hemisphere, we'll be back behind the sun, protected once again from the bolides. But you got to realize that 4 month is going to be terrifying. Have you noticed an uptick in the amount of large rocks coming through the atmosphere and getting reported on, ground shaking, everything, even one in Texas the other day? This is just a taste of what happens when all the magnetic field pulls everything into Earth. We're going to be a bug on a windshield, and there's going to be a neodymium magnet the size of Manhattan behind us, pulling everything in front of us. It's going to get cray, as I heard my friends say. That's cray. Yeah. Cray.
There's been a bunch of news out lately about a rogue planet on the edges of our solar system. They're saying that it's 4 times bigger than Earth. And you know what I've noticed? Every couple of years, they do this same thing.
They do it, don't they? I haven't seen anything, man. If you can show me some proof, please do.
Yeah, where's the evidence, folks? We're still looking for that one. No, I'm talking like mainstream news. Like, listen to this. So there could be there could also be unicorns shooting lasers out their asshole on the edge.
Dude, there are. You didn't know that? Could be too.
Giant
planet. Oh, one just got me right there on the finger. Damn it. Get out of my room.
It could have. I like how they do that. Let's see here. Where's the new data? I want to show you these news articles because, like I said, every few years they seem to replay these news articles. They'll just have something a little bit different. Here, let's do a quick screen share. Hidden planet 9 at edge of solar system could be 5 times the size of Earth. Okay, so it grew a planet in size just since yesterday.
It'll be 6 times the size of Earth, eventually 10 times the size of Earth.
Yeah. NASA's Pluto spacecraft begins new mission at the system's edge, Planet 9. Where's the stuff here's another one. No, there's some stuff I was looking at that's even more new, that's even newer than this. New planet. Let's type that in. See what comes up. New research indicates that, no, where are you at?
Yeah, leave your browser window open. I'll do a planetary thing with you. Now, you have to realize, too, like if there was something that large in the solar system, it would be magnetically interacting with other planets. Like things would get thrown out of their orbits a little bit. Like you would definitely see something out there. There would be a perturbance of the orbits, and you would definitely know something was different magnetically. You might not be able to see it, but for sure, if it's a gas giant like they claim, it would be nearly the density of Jupiter. Now, you can't tell me a little mini Jupiter running around the outer edge of the solar system isn't going to move something magnetically and we wouldn't be able to notice it. It's baffling.
Yeah, they keep spewing the same stories from Badagen and Brown. And, the Pluto killer planet. It's interesting, though, how that whole thing went down, how they demoted Pluto and then, but I think we found Planet 9. It's almost like they wanted to take out the verbiage of Planet X. And whether or not Planet X has an orbit of every, 3,600 years, similar to Mr. Sitchin's descriptions of the Nibiru return, I don't know. But it is interesting to see some of this data. And actually, there was a gentleman out of Chile, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, that was uncovering some information. And then he had a mysterious death. And then they came out and said he was wrong. And there could be absolutely something out there. And then there was even another article that came out recently about, well, if Planet 9 has moons, would it be easier to find? And there could be something lurking behind the sun. And a few years ago, I would have thought that was the media trying to hint that Planet X is real. The way that I am now, though, I think it's all just regurgitated BS, and they're running out of stories and they know what gets views. So they're writing it up a little bit differently. But that doesn't take away from the very real possibility there could be a planet lurking at the edge of the solar system. But where is it? Like you said.
Yeah, I could agree with that it's out on a really long, elongated orbit, 3,600 years. I mean, yeah, it won't affect us now. But that whole thing, like, what's lurking? It's hiding behind the sun. Our planet goes around the sun one whole time every 1 year. So wherever it was behind the sun at that point, we're going to be there to be able to see it in about 6 months. So that one just falls on its face right there.
I love it. Don't you dare think for yourself, man. You
come on, something lurking behind the sun, dude. And people believe it. See, that's what I feel so sorry for, like the kids of our generation that aren't being taught proper science and astronomy and arithmetic and these sort of things, chemistry. And, I wasn't really the biggest fan of organic chemistry, but I wish I would have learned more now so I could understand the chemical compounds that are being bounced around all over the place. But that kind of teaching is not really there anymore.
When corporations,
it's really not. Even at the AP courses, the advanced placement courses, they still, it's it was a shell of its former self that we would just have as just the regular classes.
Unfortunately, when corporations control the education content, the majority of it, the sponsoring, there's only 5 corporations that control about 90% of the textbooks that schools get. So, I mean, that should be quite telling.
Can you pull up your browser again? Because I asked you to pull up your browser again and go to solarsystemscope.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Solar system.
This will really put it into perspective of what we're dealing with here and these natural events that are inbound. And, we might be joking about this, but, they have been throwing this whole UFO scare thing around. But notice how we've gone from, Rex and I making light of, UFOs and, different colored aliens, etc., like Star Trek did. But now it has become mainstream where they're almost telling you there's going to be an alien invasion. Look for the alien. It's almost like, that we're being trained that, aliens aren't going to have a sex. We won't be able to identify them. So we're already getting into that whole, you're getting ready, something's coming. And it was all a joke before, truly it was, but now it's so mainstream that I see it as a pre-programming of something that will manifest. Either it's real or it's blue beam or it's fake or it's not, or it's like a hybrid, something that just was grown in a lab and pops out that looks half human, half alien, on our own electric gravitics craft, and then they pop out and you're like, whoa, they look like this. Oh, but wait, it was DNA manipulation over the last 80 years. So who knows what's going to happen there.
Right.
All right, let's click on the screen to run the model. Anybody can do this, and, click on the screen. There you go. So on the left side, you're going to see the little gear icon. You want to click that. If you scroll back on your mouse a little bit, you'll be able to, and you can spin the screen. Just grab it and you can spin it. There you go. And you can turn right or left. So I prefer you to turn Jupiter and Saturn. Yeah, right there, and spin it around. So Saturn is at the, let's say, 12 o'clock position. There you go. And zoom in a couple clicks and then tilt it a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Stop there. And then just, and tilt it back towards so we can see out there at Neptune. There you go. Okay, stop. All right. So you can either grab a planet and spin it, which is the easiest thing to do, or you could zoom in just a couple clicks, right? Now you're going back in time. And Jupiter's got a big orbit, so the faster you spin that one. So zoom in a little bit and maybe grab Earth, but keep the same. Yeah, right there. Okay. Now move Earth right up to 2024 October. Now what do you see? The Earth's going to be between Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Now can you tilt it back up again so we can see all the outer planets? All right, so the Earth's going to pass between those 4 gas giants lined up like that. They're going to make their own magnetic field, and we're going to pass directly between that. The sun will be on our one side with a regular looping toroid field, and then we'll have the 4 gas giants, which are in their perceived square from the Earth view, which are going to start interplaying magnetically as well. Okay, that's what's coming in October 2024 that we're going to pass through, looping toroid fields that we haven't seen in 2,000 years, actually since 79 AD. So it's not exactly 2,000, but it's like 1,950 years ago. Now, if you grab the Earth, Rex, and just pull it out into 2025 March, now zoom out a little bit so we can see all the outer planets behind us. Yeah, okay, spin it a little bit. You want to be able to see the Earth in the field of those. But the Earth's going to be by itself out in front with the 4 gas giants pulling everything in front of us. And like I say, we're going to be a bug on a windshield out in front of everything. Everything's behind us. Yeah, spin that around a little more so you can see all the Saturn and Uranus and Neptune out in the same field of view. Spin it to your right. Yeah, there you go. So you see how everything magnetically is going to pull everything into us here in front of the Earth there. So this is the natural cyclicity and things that are about to happen as we move through, these next set of years here. People know the chaos this is going to cause. Our crust is going to move slightly, and the top 1 to 2 miles of the crust is going to have a lot of, okay, yeah, right there, stop. And move the Earth back just so it's directly in front of the sun, backwards. Yeah, leave it right there, stop. All right, now what do you see behind the Earth that's going to be dragging everything in magnetically? We got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Yeah, you could even move the Earth back like, a couple degrees back that way, a little bit. Yeah, right to about there. Okay. So this is when we're going to get the biggest bolide bombardment on the planet, because all the gas giants, all the gravitational bodies of the entire solar system are behind us. We are literally at the tip of an arrow, and everything magnetically is behind us is going to get dragged and raked across the surface of the planet here. And that will be, as we see, March, April, and May of 2025. Now, as we transit around, eventually when we get around the sun again, that'll be the safe zone. The bombardment will stop. But you're going to have to put this into perspective here. We are going to have famines on this planet at the same time the bolides come rolling through. And who knows really what's going to happen with the magnetic anomaly as we transit through that second magnetic field with the sun directly through the center of it. Because, Jupiter and Saturn lined up can cause massive earthquakes on the Earth alone. Now you add in a whole entire new magnetic field. What is going to go on? And why is everybody trying to deflect from these discussions? This is what we're going into. Along with the UVB increases in the depletion in the ozone and massive crop losses in the southern hemisphere from cooling temperatures from the Hunga Tonga eruption. We're going to have the UVB increases. You got all this craziness in Ukraine not growing anything. Got chemical spills and smoke pollutant fields everywhere. And then you got these natural events that are riding on top of it. So what kind of massive distraction do you need, Rex, to keep you away from seeing that? So you kind of see what my eyes see now. It had to be done visually to explain it to you. Now you see what I see, and it's really hard to put it back in the bottle from this point forward.
Yeah, man, there's very little safety there. I mean, that is.
And if you wide out, there's nothing in front of us. Wide it out, just zoom out. Look at that. There's nothing in front of us. Nothing. We are the only thing in front of the sun at that point. So whatever comes into the solar system rolling for those months is going to pound us first. And it's going to get drawn into the sun, which is a scary thing, that the sun's actually going to pull that into us because all the gas giants are behind us with their magnetic fields, then tugging in addition to the sun, pulling it all toward them. Everything's going to get pulled toward these celestial bodies, but we're in front. We're going to get riddled with space rock. I mean, riddled.
Now, on the side note, if we don't turn into zombies or get blown up by bolides, we might get superpowers because there could be some incredible cosmic evolution. I mean, I'm going for the Batman Superman combo. I want to be rich and I want to have laser beams that shoot out of my eyes and I want to be able to fly. So,
well, then you and the unicorn are going to be a perfect match if you both have laser beams shooting out.
Yes, I'm going to rap. You're awesome, man. David, you're really cool. I'm really glad we did this.
Well, the superpower thing you're talking about is actually what I think is this awakening of universal energies that are being stomped on top of right now. Because as we go through this magnetic field, really nobody would, who does know what would happen is those who were alive 2,000 years ago. And these same elite families have been in power at least for 6,000. So they've ridden through 3 of these cycles. So they would know what type of energetic downloads would come from the great creator into just a full-on complete galactic upgrade of just like a new operating system gets, pushed into everything. Why is it so much right now that all these electromagnetic frequencies have been rolled out on top of us during this time? And why is there so much fear generated at this time on top of what should be the most golden time? We should be celebrating like it's a 2,000-year party and with hands in the air, wearing gold robes, waiting for this to pull into our stream of consciousness to reconnect at even a greater, superconductor level and trunk line with the great creator. And I think this is what's being interfered with now. And what you see a lot of things is to try to break that connection or interfere with it or shrink it. So there's not such a wide upgrade so these elite can keep themselves in their economic go through this natural changes over the next 3 years, 3.5 actually.
Oh man, that's a great point. Absolutely, dude. Your energy's awesome, man. I love where your mind is with that. And I got to say, keep being the change the world needs to see because you're doing great work, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. See you next time.
Yeah, see you soon, brother. Thanks everybody for being here with us.